You're on the Six Screens Telenetwork, earning the reputation of giving all the right ingredients, uninhibited in exposing the hard, cold facts about the Watchtower Society. And now, the end, Disney.
Well, hello everyone, and welcome into our program After the Storm. Wow, it looks like we got a great program lined up for you folks tonight. Well, we have Gail. She's a former Jehovah's Witness. She's coming in from Houston, Texas, and she has a hypnotist on with us tonight. So it's going to be very interesting. I'm sure the audience is going to be well entertained, and we have many questions to ask the hypnotist about how is it possible Watchtower's is doing hypnosing on people? We'll have to find out, but I'm going to bring Gail in right now. Let's bring her into the stream. Hello, Gail.
Hi, Rick.
So, yes,
how are you doing tonight?
I'm doing good tonight. You're sounding spiffy. Would you just come back from the gym or what?
No, ran errands all day, and I don't know. I get my second win this time of night.
You're sounding really, really good. So I'm going to cut out of here, and you can introduce what's going on here tonight, okay?
Okay, thank you. Well, good evening, everybody. Welcome to another episode of After the Storm. I'm your host, Gail. And a couple weeks ago, well, 2 episodes ago, we had a special guest, Cody, and people are still talking about his guest appearance here. And so tonight we have his mentor, Dom, the hypnotist. So I'd like to introduce Dom to you tonight. Hello, Dom.
I'm going to bring Dom right on.
Yeah. I'm going to prop this up one little bit higher. There we go. It's better.
There we go. Hi, Dom. How are you?
Great. How are you?
Good. Thank you for being here. I know it's a little bit late, maybe earlier on the West Coast for you, but thank you for being here tonight. Cody was with us about a month ago, and we had a really good conversation with him. And, you know, people were really talking about it after he really, stirred up a lot of people's attention. And it's a subject that we wanted to learn more about. Everybody loved him.
Cool.
So
yeah, he's a great guy.
Yeah, I love Cody. So we thought we'd bring you on, his mentor, and talk to you a little bit more about hypnotism. I know you don't know much about this religion per se, and what happens. If I were to tell you everything, it's just, I don't know. I don't think you need to know all the details to talk about the healing that needs to occur. Because one thing I will tell you is that this is a niche network of people who have left the Jehovah's Witness organization. They're former Jehovah's Witnesses, and some listening in may be still in the organization, but they're afraid to leave, because when you leave, you'll leave your family, and your family won't speak to you, and so the cost is very high to leave, and it causes a lot of damage to leave as well. I don't know if you heard the previous show. There have been suicides, just so many mental health issues. So what I wanted to focus on with you tonight is the healing aspect of it and what hypnosis can do. Because I think we already established that it's possible that we were being hypnotized, even like in the media, anywhere. We can be hypnotized, we can be subject to it without our knowledge. And so how do we get past that and begin on the journey of healing after leaving such a religious, a high control group?
Right.
So can you tell us, maybe start off by telling us a little bit about yourself?
Yeah, well, I actually got into hypnotism completely by accident. So I was always interested in this kind of stuff, growing up and everything. But I always thought, hypnosis, number one, I thought it was black magic, right? A lot of people think that it's demonic, or it's this or it's that.
The occult, yes.
Or that it's, the occult, or that it's fake, or that there's actors involved, whatever. All the list of the normal thing that people think. But anyways, my mom bought me a course as a Christmas gift back in 2018. And it was in 2019, I went to the course, and I had no idea. I wasn't thinking I wanted to do this for a living. I just went because she bought me the course. So I went to the course. It was a 3-day course. It was just an introductory course. And in those 3 days, I had such a huge shift in who I was as a person, just releasing a lot of stuff that I was holding on to, et cetera, et cetera. Then on that Monday, when I got out of the course, I decided, you know what, this is what I was put on this earth to do, is help people feel like how I feel right now. So initially I had a goal because I'd been selling life insurance from the time I was 18 years old till about 30.
Mhm.
And it was pretty much the only thing I knew. I did some things here and there in between, but I did that for a long time. And, you know, when I got out of the course, I said, this is what I want to do, but I don't really know anything about this. And so I initially set a goal of 6 months. I wanted to transition over full time and do this. And I wasn't doing it to like make any money or anything. It was just, I was way more excited about this than I was about doing life insurance. So fast forward, long story short, within 2 weeks, I worked with about 100 people. I just did a bunch of free sessions. I didn't have any confidence. I just wanted to build myself.
Mhm.
And 2 weeks to the day, I woke up. I had 10 appointments to go sell insurance that day. And I just could not physically get my body to go to work. Like
Wow.
there's nothing you could have done in that moment to make me go to work. So I had my assistant call all my appointments, say, hey, that's it. I said, this is it. I'm never selling another insurance policy ever again in my life. So once I quit then, and then here we are, it's almost 4 years later. So that's how I got into it initially. But just like everybody else, you know, you think it's, like I said, black magic or whatever the case may be.
Yeah.
And
Where does
it's
that come
very
from, do you
fulfilling career.
think? Where does that come from, do you think?
I don't know. I mean, if I get conspiratorial, I would say, you know, let me say this. Before I got into doing hypnosis, I would be somebody that would be considered an atheist. But now, knowing gone through all the experiences that I've gone through the past few years, and I don't believe that there's a God. I know that there's a God. There's
Mhm.
no question for me. There's just like 5 + 5 = 10. I don't believe 5 + 5 = 10. I know it's 10, right? Now, for other people, maybe they believe, maybe they don't believe, but for me, I know. And it's brought me closer to knowing God in a weird roundabout way. Again, it's not like it's a religion or something that I thought like this is going to open me up to God. I wasn't thinking that at all. But
Right, right.
what was your question again?
Where does that come from? The
Oh,
belief or
yes.
the
What is it? Okay.
teaching
Yes,
that it's
exactly.
black
Exactly.
magic, the occult. Mhm.
Okay. So if you go back in history, I don't remember the time frame, but and I hope I don't offend anybody or you know, I'm just telling you my perspective and views that I've heard. So, you know, I'm not trying to step on anybody's toes, but from my understanding, the Catholic, um, whoever, I think it was maybe Constantine, again, don't quote me, but they basically said to go around to all these different factions, like the Druids and the Celtics and all these different, you know, people who had their
Mhm.
own little religions, and to basically kill them all and let God sort them out. Right. So a lot of those people, their beliefs and their little, whatever you want to call them, religions, were meant to be looked at like, oh, this is devil worshiping, right? So this is where, are you familiar with tarot cards?
Yes.
Okay.
Mhm.
So tarot cards are basically the gypsies, the Egyptians would put all this ancient knowledge and information in the tarot cards in, you know, symbols and pictures and things like that. So that when they were, you know, being hunted down and things like that, that the Catholics, you know, the Romans didn't know that they were actually practicing their, you know, whatever. I don't know if you would
Mm.
call it religion.
Okay.
So they made it like, oh, these gypsies are just playing a card game. But no, there's a lot of deep knowledge that goes into the tarot cards.
Yeah.
So to answer your question, I think a lot of that has been made to seem like bad because it's a way to actually disconnect you from God and make you realize like, oh, that's the bad stuff. Don't look over there. But in reality, that's actually the powerful stuff. That's the good stuff that can actually have you have a better connection to God and the spirit realm and all that kind of cool stuff. So I
Yeah.
think that's what it is. It's more of a to hide that from the masses.
Yeah. Thank you for that because
Mhm.
it makes us more controllable, doesn't it?
Yeah,
If
yeah,
these
exactly.
people are telling you this is bad, we're good, it makes us the answer is always the same. I just like hearing, I just
Control.
like to ask that question. It comes down to control because hypnotherapy is a very powerful modality of healing, isn't it?
Yeah,
Changing
yeah.
your mind, healing. Yeah.
Yeah,
So
why would releasing trauma be bad? Or, if you want to go into channeling and psychics and things like that, where, a lot of religious people think that's, again, the occult, it's black magic. But,
yeah,
when somebody's mom or dad or son or daughter died suddenly and nobody was able to have their last words to them, or they always wanted to tell them, or vice versa, and somebody can tap into them, into the spirit realm, and deliver a message to this person, it brings a lot of healing to people. So, now at the same time, can those tools be used for bad? Of course. It's just like anything else, it's neither
yeah,
good nor bad, it's how you use it, right? So,
right. So it can be neutral. It's just how we
yeah,
view it.
it's
Yeah.
like a knife. It could be used to cut a steak or to slit somebody's throat. What do you want to
Good
use it for,
point. Good point. Yeah. Well, I know you're committed to an hour.
Mhm.
We told you it was just going to be an hour today. We're going to try to keep you on schedule because we really appreciate you being here. So I'm going to, open it up to the audience because the last time, I heard some people trying to come in and ask Cody questions, and so listeners, if you are there and you have a question for Dom, please come in while we're just chatting here. Do you have a question for Dom?
Yeah, I have a question.
Okay.
Yeah, good evening.
Good evening.
I went to a nightclub one time when they had a hypnotist, and he invited up about 30 people up to the stage, and they were going people that were going to allow themselves to be hypnotized, and some people could be hypnotized, and some people couldn't, and they just tap you on the shoulder and tell you to take your seat if you couldn't be hypnotized. Can you give me a little understanding on how that works? Are there some people that can be hypnotized, and there are other people that just cannot be hypnotized? Thank you.
Yeah,
Thank
great
you.
question.
Hmm.
So all hypnosis is self-hypnosis, which means that nobody can actually hypnotize you without you wanting to be hypnotized. So the hypnotist is this there as a guide to speed it up and to have a specific point or something that you're working on. So we all go in and out of hypnotic states all the time. So if you've ever been driving on the freeway and suddenly your mind wanders off and you 10 minutes later you snap back to it and you forgot, how you got there, that is a state of hypnosis, right? Or if you've ever been laying down in bed and suddenly you kind of fall asleep, but you don't remember you're awake and you kind of like, wait, what just happened there? Did I sleep or what was going on? So that's a state of hypnosis. Now, when you're talking about stage hypnosis, there's only a certain amount of of people that will allow themselves to get to that point where they'll do silly things on stage, right? So it's not that the other people can't be hypnotized, it's just that they're not going to do stage hypnosis. But hypnosis is used for many different things, right? Healing and mindset stuff and things like that. It's just that stage hypnosis has its own kind of separate thing. So typically, the people who are very easily hypnotizable when it comes to stage hypnosis are people who are already outgoing to some degree. It just gives them that almost like even an excuse to kind of act, silly and have fun. But the way I describe it to people is it's kind of like, when you're sober, maybe you won't dance or you won't sing or, whatever, but you have a couple drinks in you and suddenly, you're goofing around, you're the life of the party. That's
Yeah.
kind of what that does to you. It just makes it to where you don't really care so much about what everybody else is thinking and you just kind of open up and, act whatever they kind of do. But the entire time you can stop if you want, you can, and if you hear people describe it, they'll say, I was just playing along, and it is kind of playing along in a way, but it's at the same time, they're still doing it. So yeah, but again, only a certain amount of people are going to allow themselves to go up on stage and do that type of hypnosis, but that doesn't mean that you can't be hypnotized.
Does that answer your question? I don't know who that was.
All right, yes, it's yes. That did answer my questions. Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you. Thank you. So, being hypnotized, is it through repetition, the use of certain words? How is it done?
Yeah, so there's different things that'll put you into a trance. One is, like you said, repetition. So anytime we're doing repetitive stuff, that will automatically put us into a trance, right? So, driving, we all go in and out of trance all the time when we're driving because we're just sitting there, just doing the same thing.
Mhm.
Any type of repetitive work, cleaning, things like that will automatically put us into a state of hypnosis. There's a couple other things, you can get somebody to stare at a point. And when you stare at a point, what happens is your brainwave cycles start to slow down. And when our brainwave cycles slow down, that's what allows us to go into that trance. So rather than, you're looking around the room, I'm talking to you, this and that, my brain is processing millions of bits of different information every second because of all the shapes, sizes, colors, textures of our environment. But if I stare at a point, suddenly I don't have as many distractions. So it allows my mind to kind of slow down. So it's the same thing if you ever daydream before, what happens?
Mhm.
We look at something and we kind of go,
You phase out. Yeah. Mhm.
and then you snap back to it, right? That's
Right.
you literally went into hypnosis right there.
Okay.
So those are some things. And then using certain words, progressive relaxation is a way to do hypnosis with people using words like relax, comfortable, deeply. There's different words that you can use and a certain tone of voice. Right. If I'm talking like this and I'm really upbeat and your mind's gonna be like, but if I'm
Mhm.
talking slowly and calmly and I'm using specific words as you listen to the sound, your mind, you kind of start going into that trance. And then there's rapid inductions, which, many people are familiar with, where a hypnotist will grab somebody's hand and go sleep, or they'll make them do something, look at here, and then they just kind of like slump forward. So that is what's called a pattern interrupt. So a pattern interrupt is essentially we all have patterns, right? We're used to certain things in a conversation with somebody, whatever the case may be. So when you interrupt somebody's pattern, it causes confusion in their mind. And when they're confused, people are very easily influenced. Okay.
Yeah.
And this kind of ties into like, all the stuff that happened over the past couple of years with just everything that's going on, create a lot of confusion, right? This side's in, this is there, this and there. It creates chaos and confusion and fear, which allows people to be more easily manipulated. So when you can interrupt somebody's normal pattern and you're in whatever that may be, talk about Skittles and rainbows and kittens, somebody will go like, what? And then from that point, very, very fast, you can give them a suggestion. All right, let me see your hand and sleep. And they'll go with it because their mind is looking for the next thing. So if you can imagine, let's say that you're in a building and suddenly the fire alarm went off, pattern interrupt, right? We're not used to that. So what do people do? They're going to panic. And without even knowing, somebody could be a mass murderer and they could be like, hey, come here, come here, come here. And what are the people going to do? They're going to follow them, right?
Right.
Because they're in a confusion. They're in a state of fear. So they're just going to go with whatever, right? So that's also another way to put people in hypnosis. So
Wow. That explains what's happening currently
yeah,
over the
yeah.
last 3 years or so.
Yeah, a lot
Okay.
of confusion, all that stuff done on purpose,
Yeah.
psychological operations and a lot of fear. When you get people in their lower selves and you get them worried about, you're going to die or you don't have any money and no food, all these things, it puts us in a very easily manipulated state and people just follow along with things that can logically don't make sense. But again, they're speaking to our lower self, our self that wants to survive. So
Right. One of the big problems in the XJW community is finding a therapist. People have tried to go and look for therapy to, heal, but one of the problems is therapists don't understand because they don't understand the religion, they don't understand what we're going through. Um,
Mhm.
do you, as a hypnotist, need to understand the religion to help somebody overcome the damage and the hurt that they were under? What
No,
makes
no.
hypnotherapists different, from the other
Yeah.
modalities of healing?
So I've worked with, I can't even put a number on how many people I've worked with that have been in therapy for years. And and many of the times they're there for the same problem for years and years and years. And here's what
Right.
happened. The therapist never asks the subconscious mind if it's okay to let go of, like you said, hurt or whatever it may be. So we have our conscious mind, which is our logical mind. Okay.
Mhm.
That's 5% of our brain power. The other 95% is our subconscious mind. So our subconscious mind is, the reason you don't have to think about breathing, your heart beating blood, your stomach digesting your food. That's the subconscious mind. So it's running and operating everything. Now, the subconscious mind, its number one job is survival above all else. So it does a bunch of different jobs, but number one is to survive. Okay. So you can logically know, hey, I should probably let go of this hurt or this relationship or this whatever. Okay. But if your subconscious mind is afraid to let it go, it won't work because the subconscious mind will overpower the logical brain. Okay. So think of it like this. The last time you went to go drive your car, um, did you sit there and go back and forth in your head, like maybe I should, maybe I shouldn't, it's dangerous, I don't know, da, 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 da. Or did you just hop in your car and drive off?
Yeah, it
You just
came.
hop in your
Yeah,
car,
I just hopped in the
right?
car and drove off.
So what happened in a split second, you got a conscious thought, hey, I want to go to the grocery store. And in a split second, your subconscious mind says, okay, cool. Yeah, we can do that. And then you go, right? No resistance. Well, there's people out there that are deathly afraid of driving. So when they have a logical thought of, hey, I want to go to the grocery store, their subconscious mind is like, well, no, because remember last time we drove, we got in a car accident and we got hurt and we had medical bills and insurance and blah, 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 blah. We don't want to do that again. No, I don't want to do it. And the logical mind's like, come on, it's not that big of a deal. It's right down the street. We've done this a million times. It was just one accident. But the subconscious mind is like, no, I'm afraid. And then because the subconscious mind is so much more powerful, it overrides the conscious thoughts. And then the person won't drive, right? So when you're in therapy, they're giving you a lot of logical things, right? You should do this, you should do that, but they're never asking the subconscious mind, hey, is it okay to let go of my hurt? Is it okay to let go of my resentment, my guilt, my shame, right? I know a lot of people in religion deal with that,
Mhm.
and that's why it doesn't let
Mhm.
go. So once you get the subconscious to agree, yeah, I'm okay with moving forward, right? Then those feelings will go away. But no, you don't have to. I'm sure it helps if somebody's been through what you've been through, right? Because they
Yeah.
understand a little bit more. But
Yeah.
if you could think of the most horrific thing. Okay, you want me to tell you a story? I'll tell
Sure.
you a story.
Go ahead.
Okay, this is probably the craziest story I've ever dealt with. Um, and yeah, so this gentleman, he reached out to me. He was a pastor and he's married, had 2 kids, Christian guy. I'm trying to see, I want to make sure I say it without saying too many details.
Right.
Nobody would ever guess who this person is, but so he came to me because he was questioning his sexuality. Okay. And the reason is because, well, let me back up a little bit. So this gentleman was in the military, served in Iraq. I didn't ask him, but I kind of got the vibe like he killed people, definitely saw people get killed.
Right.
And he was a MMA fighter for years. So he knew how to defend himself more ways than one. Well, one day he was at home and some random person knocked on his door and looking for somebody, and the person wasn't there. And the person that knocked on his door broke into his house and raped him. Okay. This is a grown man, again, that knows how to fight. He knows how to kill with his bare
Right.
hands. And meanwhile, he didn't do anything to fight back. He just let it happen. So after that, he started questioning his sexuality. And he's like, well, am I gay? Or like, I don't, what the hell's going on? Why
Yeah.
did I let that happen? I didn't even fight back. Well, what we found out is that he had a repressed memory. And it turns out when he was 3 years old, and he didn't know this until we did this session. When he was 3 years old, his grandfather tried to rape him. And when that happened, I don't remember if he did or if he tried or if he was successful. I don't remember that detail about it. It's been a couple of years. But when that happened, when he was 3 years old, he froze and he didn't do anything. So fight, flight, freeze. So he froze, right? Well, when that guy broke into his house and raped him, he went into the same freeze. He froze. So it's not that he wanted him to do it. He just didn't. He became that 3-year-old kid again that didn't know what to do. So he froze. And then, oh, you know what? I'm actually, I'm like 99% sure.
Can we hold off for 1 second here? I hate to say it, but what happens if the telephone line goes off every 6 hours? So if you could just hang in give us about 1 minute, we'll be right back with the telephone line open. So just
okay. Sure. Okay. I'll read the comments in the meantime.
So don't tell the story?
No, you can when the phone line is back up because we have
okay.
Yeah.
Welcome to the live 6 screens conference call.
We have some people that listen in on the phone, and Rick has to reset it around 10:30. Yeah. So we'll pick up here in a little bit.
Okay, yeah, I just don't know.
Remember, when you are unmuted, your phone is a microphone and picks up on all noises in the background. We hope you enjoy the programs tonight. You will now be placed into the conference.
We're being placed in there now. Just another minute.
Press star now. Please enter your.
Be right on now. Yep.
11 participants in the conference. Muted. Unmuted.
Okay, we're ready to go.
All right, and we're back. Thank you. All right.
Yeah.
Thank you.
So if I'm like 99% sure his grandfather did rape him. And so, well, when that happened, his dad always like treated him weird, and he didn't know. But as a 3-year-old kid, he thought that his dad was treating him that way because he was gay, because his grandfather raped him. Okay. Again, he didn't know this until we did this whole session. Everything kind of come to the surface. So long story short, we clear out all the trauma, and then he's like, I'm not gay. It's just that this whole scenario that I explained. So now none of that has ever happened to me, and it doesn't have to. I can still help somebody heal through whatever it may be. That makes sense.
That makes sense. Yeah. So the incident left an imprint on the subconscious mind, and then when it happened again, it mirrored it, and it felt familiar.
Like brought him back to that moment when he was 3 and he just froze. Yeah, and I think he was on like not drugs, but he was on like what do they call that? Oxycontin and everything. So you're a little bit, you're out of it, right? So you're not really there, but you're there. So anyway, but after that, he's just like so much relief, for that guy. He's just, life has changed forever. So it doesn't have to be somebody that, knows what you've gone through to help you through it.
Exactly. Because you're tapping it. What's different, what I'm hearing you say, what's different with hypnotherapy and other forms of therapy is you're going to the subconscious mind.
Exactly.
Asking the subconscious mind. Yeah.
Yep. You're asking the question to, we never suggest to our clients what they're dealing with. We ask them questions in a specific way that gets them to bring to the surface what they are dealing with. And then they realize like, oh shoot, that's why I'm doing this or doing that, or, whatever the case may be. So.
Wow. And then you can overlay that with affirmations, positive affirmations or positive cognitions. Until you clear that out, that doesn't work. Is that right?
Yeah. So you have to get permission. Then you got to go to the root, and then you got to clear it out. Now, another thing, and this is probably, I would imagine that a lot of people that go through what you guys go through experience this, but excuse me, there's a universal law, which is called cause and effect. Okay. So cause means we take responsibility for everything that happens to us in our lives. Okay. No matter what it is, we say that was my fault. I created that. Okay. Now, when we're at the effect, it's always somebody else's fault. It's his fault. It's her fault. It's the government's fault, whoever. Okay. Now, when we're at the effect, we lose personal power to change, because essentially we're saying the reason why my life is this way is because of this person. So therefore, this person has the authority over me to change. Okay. So I'll give you an example. One of my clients one day, she was saying about how her ex-husband manipulated her. And he's just so manipulative. You don't understand him. You don't know him. He's just such a good manipulator, right? Now, is she at cause or is she at the effect?
She's at the effect.
She's saying the reason
Mm-hmm.
why my life is going the way it's going is because my ex-husband manipulates me.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And I stopped her and I said, is it that he's a good manipulator, or are you just easily manipulated?
Mm-hmm.
Right? Because there's a difference. One
Yeah.
is it's his fault. The other one is, no, I'm allowing this to happen. So once she realized that, guess what happened with the manipulation?
It stopped. Yeah. He couldn't
Stopped.
manipulate her anymore.
Because she took back her power and said, no, yeah, he might be trying, but I'm the one that's allowing it to happen. Now, we'll go even further. It's cause and effect. When I say everything, I literally mean everything. If you get a cold, if you get in a car accident, if somebody, threatens your life or robs you or whatever, everything is our fault. Everything that's happening outside is an internal projection. So I'll go deeper on this. So one of my clients, we signed up to do some sessions. We do our first session. Cool. We clear out a bunch of stuff. Awesome. Then it was either the day before or a few hours before our second session, she got in a car accident. So obviously, that's not good, but I already know, because I'm like, oh, she got in a car accident. Something's going on inside. We'll see what it is. So the next time we try to do our next session, and she has a headache, her back's messed up. She's got brain fog. She's got all this stuff going on. So I'm like, okay, cool. So we reschedule. And then when we do the next one, she tried to cancel. And I said, no, we're not doing that. We're doing our session today. I don't care how you feel. You need to do this. Okay. So we do the session. And I'm explaining to her cause and effect. I'm like, you created this accident, even though you may not have consciously wanted it to happen. Something is going on internally. Well, no, but the guy hit me. It was an accident. I said, I understand, but whatever reason, you put yourself in that situation. So I said, just humor me for the next 30 minutes. Okay. So we go through and I ask her all the questions, and lo and behold, guess what? She, deep down inside, she took on everybody's problems. She was like paying for her parents, responsible for their lives. She had multiple businesses. She has employees. She's taken on everybody else's stuff, and she never gets a break, and nobody ever helps her. So deep down inside, she just really wanted a break, and she really wanted some help. So guess what? Well, if I get in an accident, now I don't have to take on the responsibility. Everybody gets to help me. So now as she's in the hypnosis, she's like, she's saying this, and she didn't logically and consciously think of it. It was deep down inside. Now, after she had that realization, she opens her eyes, and guess what? No more headache, no more back pain, and her brain fog is gone. Wow. So when I say you are literally creating everything, you are literally responsible for everything. So my point of sharing all that, I don't know for sure, but I could imagine that a lot of people that go through stuff like this, they want to point the finger. It's the pastor's fault. It's my parents' fault. It's the religion's fault. No, it is you, and it is always you. Now, once you can realize that, and you can go within yourself and go, why did I create this experience? What am I trying to, what's my subconscious mind trying to tell me? Then you could take back your power to change. But if you play, and this is a harsh word, and I don't even like using this word, but it's true. If you play victim, nothing will change until you take responsibility and go, you know what? Yeah, my parents might have raised me in this religion, but at the end of the day, I'm an adult. I make my own decisions. So I can't keep blaming my parents as to why my life is going this way. Or I can't keep blaming the pastor or whatever, my friends, my family, and take responsibility. And honestly, once you do that, at first it sucks because you realize that the reason why your life is going the way it is because it's you. But it's very empowering because once you actually do that and you realize you can change it, that's when you're empowered. So
I want to
positive
go
facts.
back a little bit and play devil's advocate here
Yeah,
because
yeah.
as you mentioned, the way your parents raised you, many of us were born into this religion,
Mhm.
third, fourth, fifth generation or what have you. And
Yeah.
so we weren't given a chance to, develop our minds or develop our own thought, way of thinking or our belief system. It was
Mhm.
given to us.
Mhm.
So, yeah, I want to play devil's advocate there.
Yeah, yeah.
Like we were taught that if we, this is the one true religion. If you leave it, you're nothing. You're going to die at Armageddon. And if you leave, you can leave. You're free to leave. But you're, like I told you earlier, your family will stop speaking to you and your life is, I mean, there have been some horrific stories,
Yeah, yeah.
people who have lost a lot. How can that be their fault?
Well,
I understand the
whose else fault would
recovery.
it be?
You see what I'm saying? Like, this is
Yeah.
the way you were raised. You were raised to think this way.
Mhm.
But I understand taking back your power,
Mhm.
owning your decision to leave, and healing being your responsibility. But
Yeah, yeah.
you help me out here with
So
that.
yeah, I get what you're saying.
Hmm.
So this is just a theory. Some people theorize this. Is somebody trying to say something?
Hold on, Rob. Excuse me. I'm just telling them that the people want to call in, but I'm telling them to hold on.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay, I will.
So this is a theory. This can't be proven. Okay. But there's a theory that before we even come into our human existence, our soul has a purpose to serve, right? And we chose this journey that we're on. So again, this is a theory
Yeah.
that when you come into earth, you chose to go into the family that is just going to be Jehovah's Witness and da, 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 because there's certain things certain lessons that you need to learn yourself for your soul's purpose. Okay. Now, again, just like my client I just told you, the guy crashed into her car. It wasn't her fault,
Yeah.
but it was because she was creating it through her mind and her reality. So I get it. You're born into it and everything else. But again, I'm not saying that it was your fault that you were born into it. I'm saying that it's your fault that you're staying in it and that you're allowing yourself to be manipulated by, because how many kids are born into a family, they're raised a certain way and they don't listen. So, you know
Hmm.
what I mean? There's,
Yeah.
you get to choose. But if it's like, it's my parents' fault, it's their fault. No, you got to stop doing it. Yes, I understand all that happened. I understand you were raised that way. Cool. But what is that? That's not going to do anything for you. It's your fault. You take responsibility and go, you know what? I didn't have to choose that path. Yeah, I might have been like brainwashed to think that, but I'm not brainwashed anymore. I can decide to change. I'm going to
Right.
take responsibility and move forward. And once you
Yeah.
do that, it's liberating and you don't have to sit there and hold on to resentment and, all this other stuff. So,
Yeah. And I'm so proud of this community. A lot of people have taken their power back. It's so
yeah.
large because people have taken their power back, but you're saying it's our responsibility to heal.
Yes, and once you so again, I'm assuming that everybody that's moved on and takes their power back and they go, "Okay, no, this is my responsibility and nobody else is gonna do it for me." I'm talking about the people that are still, like, lingering, right? Everything is always it's everybody else's fault. Like, I literally down to the everything in my life, I always take let me give you now, is this provable? No, but this is how I always see things. Um, for the longest time, I wanted to get a ring for my front door and I wanted to get a camera. Now I live in a nice neighborhood. It's brand new, but the nice neighborhoods, those are the neighborhoods that where have all the nice stuff, right? So I'm like, I want to get, some stuff, whatever. I want to get a ring. So we would go, this is October, November, December. We go out of town like almost every weekend. And every single weekend, I would be thinking like, oh my God, what's happening at my house right now? I don't know what's going on. And I'd be like worried. And it would come home and nothing's wrong. Right. Well, maybe after like 2 months of this, somebody stole. This was like right around Christmas. We start ordering more stuff, all those people, the thieves start coming out. And somebody stole something. I didn't even know they stole it because we get packages all the time. I don't even remember half the time I order
Yeah.
stuff, but my neighbor came and was like, "Hey, did you order something? Oh, I found a box down the road and it had your address." And it turns out they stole a bag of they stole a bag of kitty litter. So when they got down the road and opened it, they realized, ah, shoot, and they threw it out. So, so after that, I'm like, I got to buy my freaking ring. This is it. Time to do it. Now, is this true? Is this the truth? Is this what actually happened? I don't know. But in my head, I said, you know what? I attracted that into my life to get me to finally make a decision to do it. I wanted somebody deep down inside. I wanted somebody to take something from me so it'll push me to go and make a decision on that. Now, did I don't know, but that's how I always see things, that however things happen, if a fight happens, if somebody treats me a certain way, everything is always my fault. It's never anybody else's fault.
Wow.
Responsibility for everything. Look, you ever know those people, they go, this person's an asshole, and this person's an asshole, and this person's an asshole, and everybody's an asshole. I'm like, damn, really? Everybody's an asshole. Well, what's going on with you?
Except you.
I'm like, everybody's an asshole, huh? Okay. You don't think you have anything to do with that? Nothing. Okay. It's interesting, because what's the common denominator between all these assholes? Now, once that person goes, something's going on. Either people think it's okay to treat me this way, or I'm being an asshole myself, and that's the vibe I'm getting back. Because before I let go of all my anger, all my resentment, I used to have a temper. And guess what would happen to me all the time? Guess what would happen?
Get into fights.
Get into fights, road rage. One time when I was selling insurance, I drove up to this complex. They had a gate. They had like one of those arms, so I couldn't go forward. And they have a security guard. You have to show your ID. They check it. They call the person, and then they let you in. I pull out my ID. I hand it to the guy, and the car behind me sees me do this, and he starts honking his horn at me to go. Now, obviously, I can't go. There's nowhere I can go.
Right.
But why, of all the people, why did that happen to me? Because I was an angry asshole, and deep down inside, I wanted something like that to happen. Now, guess what? Guess how many times that's happened to me in the past 4 years?
None.
Not
Probably never
one
again.
time.
Yeah.
No, because I'm not attracting that. I don't want that in my life anymore. So therefore, it doesn't happen. So.
Okay. So I do have a question from the comments, but I do want to allow the caller that was trying to come in. I don't know if that was Rob. Are you there, Rob? Okay. So I don't know what happened until he comes in. One of the questions is, how can we? Go ahead. Okay.
Now,
Hi. How are?
I know you're not hypnotizing me right now.
How do you know I'm not hypnotizing you? You don't. Ooh. No, I'm not. I mean, maybe I am on accident, but I'm not trying to.
Well, you probably don't have to try very hard. Don't
Right?
you
It's just natural.
trick everyone you deal with every day, all day long?
What's that?
All day long, everyone you deal with, everyone you talk to. Don't you pull all these tricks on them because you're a hypnotist, right?
Yeah, no. Look, here's the thing. I was just telling this to somebody the other day. He
use it all the time?
What's
Do you
that?
have to use it, or what is it? Is it like some sort of special quality or something that you can do? And you know,
No. So
everyone else.
what was the last part?
You just have a upper hand on everyone all the time.
No. So I'll tell you. So the other day, this gentleman commented to me.
You don't use your powers.
Well,
Yeah,
let's let Dom answer the
what do you think?
question. Let's let Dom answer the question. Please.
Yeah, I'll answer the last part. So this guy comments in my comment section on my Instagram, and he said something like, how do I learn how to use hypnosis to seduce women or something like that?
No. Answer my question, not somebody else's.
I'm answering your question. Just quiet down and listen, okay? So he says this to me, and I responded.
For a long time. I think
Okay.
I'm being hypnotized.
Hey, listen, caller. I'm gonna ban you from the telephone line here.
Thank you.
Just sit back and listen. If you don't, you're going.
All
Okay,
right.
so it's okay. Don't worry about it, man. It's all good, Rob. I know. Look, I get it. You probably think deep down inside, I got a 666 tattoo on my back, and I'm Helen saying, I get it, dude. I used to think the same thing. So I'm not even mad at you, Rob. Don't feel bad. But so this guy asked me, like, how do I want to use hypnosis to like seduce women? And look, the word seduce has that's not a good word, right? That's like you're trying to manipulate somebody to fall in love with you. And I told them, I just responded, I said, how about you just be a really cool person and women will like you just the way you are? You don't have to use hypnosis or anything else for that matter to like trick people into liking you. So to answer your question, no, I'm not doing any type of hypnosis. And here's the thing. It's not a special power that I was born with it or it was bestowed upon me. No. Remember, when I got into this, it was by accident. My mom literally bought me a course. I went to it and I was like, wow, I love this. This is so cool. The only thing is it takes practice to get good at it. It's not like a magical special power. I don't have power over other people. And again, remember, it's a tool. It's a tool. Can it be used for good? It can be used for bad. It depends on there's people out there. If you look at like Google, what's it called? Covert hypnosis. Okay. That's like people that want to manipulate people, right? I don't like when I meet somebody, I'm not like trying to figure out how to get an angle on them. I use it specifically for therapy and helping people heal. That's the only thing I use it for.
Right.
So I hope that answers your question, Rob.
It did for me.
Hello, Gail. Can I jump in here?
Yes, please.
Hi, this is Joe.
Hi, Joe.
See what you're doing down there, I really do. I can't help but feel that deep-seated resentment is one of those things that interferes with so much progress that anybody can make with any of their problems. And that's probably, I think it's something that gets in the way of most anything, any endeavors that we're part of. Resentment on whatever level. And maybe you can speak to that a little.
No, you're absolutely right. And, so remember going back what I said, we always want to get permission when we're letting go of anything. So anger. So there's a couple major ones, right? Anger, sadness, fear, hurt, guilt, shame, resentment, jealousy, things like that. So one thing that a lot of people have trouble with is getting the agreement to let it go. So in other words, if somebody has a lot of resentment, and you can even, I'm sorry, what was the gentleman's name that was just asking the question?
Joe.
Mm-hmm. So if you listen in, Joe, if I asked you, Joe, is it okay to let go of your resentment from all throughout your past, all the resentment you're holding on to? Is it okay to let that go? What's your initial reaction?
Well, I might say, no, there's some resentment I feel I'm justified for holding.
There you go. So remember the conscious and subconscious mind. So even if we try to work with you, not without clearing that out, it wouldn't work because deep down inside, you don't really want to let it go. So there's a process where we talk to your subconscious mind and we get it to realize, wait, actually, the resentment is actually holding me back. And once you get it to agree 100%, the resentment goes away like that. To the point where it could be whatever, it could be any person, doesn't matter what they did, you will no longer hold on to resentment towards that person. But again, there has to be that initial click of, yes, I do want to let it go. And it's 100% okay. Now, typically, here's the thing with resentment. Typically people want to hold on to it because like Joe said, I want to hold because these people did this to me. So it's almost like a protection mechanism, right? Mm-hmm. But holding on to anger and people probably, I didn't make up the saying, but holding on to anger and resentment is like drinking a cup of poison, expecting the other person to die, right? Mm-hmm. Because at the end of the day, who really gets hurt when we feel resentment? We do. Yeah. Whoever did whatever to us, they're living their lives.
They're not even thinking about it.
They're moved on, but we're holding on to that resentment. And what happens when we feel resentment? We get that pain in our chest, the blood gets pumping, everything rushes to and we feel that just like, mm. Now imagine you're feeling that way and you got to go to work tomorrow or today, or, as you're feeling that way, and you're in your relationship with your husband or your wife or your boyfriend or your girlfriend, you're trying to run a business, and all you could think about is 10 years ago, so-and-so did this to you or whatever. The only person that's hurting is you. So once you let go of the resentment, not for them, but for you, and your subconscious mind realizes, oh shoot, yeah, that's true. And it's 100%, boom, it'll go away. No problem.
Wow. Just like that.
Yeah. Doesn't mean you're going to like go, you'll be your best friends with the person before, but you can remember them, you can see them, and those feelings that would get you before, you just don't care anymore.
It doesn't have the same effect on you.
No, has no effect.
Right. And that goes along with question in the comments. Jay says, I want to heal. How can I heal faster?
Yeah. So number one is getting permission, working with your subconscious mind. And number two is finding the root. So the root of, let's say, so when somebody says the word heal, I immediately think of they're probably feeling a lot of hurt. Okay. There's other emotions, but that's usually the first one, because what's the opposite of hurting is healing. So that's the emotion. So usually when people hold on to hurt, they don't want to let it go. A lot of people don't want to, because they feel like, well, the hurt helps me from feeling hurt, right? If I hold on to this hurt, it'll remind me so I don't make the same mistake and get hurt again. But here's the problem though. Every time you think about those past events that cause you hurt, how do you feel?
Hurt again. Like you're
Feel
living
hurt.
it out. Yeah.
So the very thing you're trying to avoid, it's actually making you feel more of, right?
So you're living it over and over.
Yeah, because every time you think about it, you're like, I don't want to feel hurt, so I'm going to hold on to my hurt from my past. But then every time you think about the hurt in the past, it's causing you hurt in the moment. So now imagine this: when you burn your hand on the stove, do you have to go back and burn your hand on the stove again to remind yourself how hot the stove is?
No.
You burn your hand once, you learn your lesson, and you always have that lesson in your mind: don't touch the stove. Well, what you do by holding on to your hurt is it's like burning your hand on the stove over and over again. You're going, oh man, this past relation, this person burned me, they hurt me. Okay, I'm going to remind myself, I'm going to go back in my memory, remind what it felt like again. I'm going to touch that hot stove so that I don't get hurt. But in the process of touching that hot stove every time, you're hurting yourself more and more and more. And guess what? After touching that stove too many times, you're not going to have a hand anymore, right? And this is how people end up getting cancer. They end up having strokes, heart attacks, all these different issues, ulcers, is because of they're holding on to negative emotions. Now, here's the cool thing. You remember when you burn your hand, you learn your lesson, you don't do it again? Well, you could do the same thing, but in regards to your hurt. So if you can go back and take all the lessons, what to do, what not to do, so hey, red flag, don't do that, right? If you could take all the lessons from your past, that way you don't get hurt moving forward in the future, then is it okay to release? So once you make that connection and it's 100%, then you can move on. So the next step is getting to the root. So the root of it is, so most people, by the time they're ready to heal something, they think that that's the thing that they need to heal from, which it is partly, but it's a whole string of other things that led up to that moment, right? So it's not that this woman that, well, I don't know, I'm just throwing out there, right? A breakup or a relation, whatever. That's like the iceberg, right? The top that you can see, but there's all this stuff underneath that you've subconsciously stored away. You don't realize you haven't let go of. So you go to the root. The root is either going to be something that happened to you when you're really young, like from the time you're born till about 7 years old, or believe it or not, a lot of our traumas are passed down through our genetics. So our mother, while she's pregnant with us, if she goes through something, that could get passed down, or even before we're born. Parents, grandparents, great-grandparents, great-great-grandparents, so on and so forth, okay? So that's the next step, getting the root. And then here's the third step, which is the most important. I don't want to say the most important, but you can apply this moving forward with anything, is taking the lessons, okay? So all events in life are neutral, okay? Which means There's no such thing as a good event, and there's no such thing as a bad event. Everything is neutral. Okay. Now let's think of the most horrific thing that it could ever possibly, let's think of war. Okay. Is war good or bad? Well, it
It's
depends who
bad.
you ask, right?
Yeah.
The guy flying the jet, dropping the bombs, he thinks he's doing a great thing. He's killing terrorists, right? Supposedly. And then the people getting bombed on, what do they think? This is so terrible. So is war good or bad? It's neither. It's the perspective. Now, I don't think it's good, but it's the perspective of the observer, right? So when a neutral event happens, breakup, religion stuff, whatever, you get to decide, is this good or is this bad? What does this mean to me? Well, most people, because it's very easy to be negative, and we usually negativity is far more, I don't want to say powerful, but it stands out to us more, right?
Yeah.
That's why
Yeah.
bad news sells, right? That's why when a car crash, you look at the car crash, you can't help it. So negative events, quote unquote, stand out more. So when a neutral event happens and you say, this is bad because, you go down the negative path. And when you go down the negative path, you attach negative emotions to those events along with limiting beliefs. So in other words, event happens, you say this is bad. Now you're holding on to hurt for however many years, or sadness or anger or whatever. Now what'll happen is your subconscious mind, because it has to live its life, it'll go through the experience, it feels the emotions, and then it compartmentalizes that memory. It basically says, hey, you know what? We got stuff to do. But what we're going to do, we're going to put this one way back here. And, the next time you're driving or you're up late at night or whatever, it's going to bring it right into the front of your memory, right? And the reason it does that, it's trying to get you to let it go. It's saying, hey, so-and-so, what is the lesson that we got from this? What do we need to learn from this breakup, this religious breakup, this whatever? What do we learn from this? And until we make that lesson, if we don't, it'll just go, nothing. Okay. All right, man. And it puts it back, and it keeps happening over and over. So once you can change what it means to you and you go, oh, you know what? Going through this religious experience, what did I learn from it? Wow. Well, it taught me to really stand up for myself, right? Rather than just going along with the pack. Okay, cool. What else did you learn from going through this religious experience? Well, man, I mean, if I can make it through that, I can make it through anything. Okay, cool. What else did you learn from going through this religious experience? Well, when I have a family in the future, I'm going to allow them to be free thinkers and think for themselves because I want them to have free expression. Okay, cool. And once you take all these lessons, your mind goes, okay, cool. We don't need to hold on to this anymore. We got it. We got the lesson. And then the emotion from that event will immediately disappear. So, and it doesn't matter how traumatic it is. Again, I've worked with people. You can think of the worst possible things you could do to a human being, and they can let go of that trauma. So that's how you let go of negative, or that's how you heal.
Yeah. Well, in the case of the audience that we have here, they're making a conscious decision to leave their family behind.
Mm-hmm.
And that's very painful. How do you live without your family? How do you hypnotize yourself and move on? Like, okay, I learned my lesson. I'm going to leave my family behind, and you're okay. That's the reason most people are stuck, because they're not okay with it. It's a lifetime of indoctrination.
Yeah. So number one, remember is, somebody there?
Yeah, I would like to ask some questions, but go ahead. I'm Zach. I go by Zach.
Hi, Zach.
Okay, cool.
I haven't had an opportunity. Okay, go ahead.
Okay,
sweet. So your question was, how do you live? Okay, so remember, number one, you see how you're like, how I don't understand. I don't want to so I already know the pain doesn't want to go away, right? So you have to be okay with first step is being okay with letting it go. If you're not okay with letting it go, it's not going to work. And guess what? Me nor Jesus Christ himself can make you want to heal for yourself. It's up to you. You got to make the decision. Like, you know what? I want to let go of this pain. I don't want to hold on anymore. No matter what it is, how long it is, it doesn't matter. It's up to you to let it go. And once you make that decision and you take the lessons, it will go away. How do people go on and live their lives without their families in general?
yeah.
People lose loved ones all the time. They bad things happen. People heal and move on. So, but again, if we're not accepting that and going, yes, it is a possibility. Again, remember, cause and effect. It's a lifetime of indoctrination. Is that cause or effect?
Hello, Gail.
Effect.
That's effect. We
Yeah.
got to go. It's me.
Wow.
Hello, Gail.
That's deep. Yes.
Just a quick question for Dom.
Was I the next in line? I thought I was next in line.
Yes, you were.
Okay. Well,
So can I ask a question?
Yeah, you go ahead. I'll wait.
I have three quick questions. The first question is what happened to me. The next one is about the stages of sleep, and the last one is something you said about Egypt and tarot. So the first one, what happened to me? About 6 years ago, I was watching a video that was talking about where life came from. And it told you to be in the field, and then it said, go up above the field and go up higher. And the next thing I remember is I heard something go. I heard the narrator say, okay, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, wake up.
Mm-hmm.
And I thought, so I wake up and I'm like, uh-oh, what happened to me? I realized that a whole video had gone by. It must have been about 45 minutes. And so I had to re-look at the video with my eyes wide open so I could see what happened. What happened to me?
Yeah. So you went into a state of hypnosis. So there's a different brainwave cycles, right? So there's 5, but we typically only really tap into 4. So there's gamma brainwaves, which is when you're doing something athletic, you're being chased by an animal, right? That's when your brainwave cycles are just going maximum capacity. It's usually something to do with survival or competition. Now, beta brainwaves, which is what we're in right now, it's just normal conversation. Your mind is there. We're in a wake state. Now, once you close your eyes, your brainwave cycles start to slow down. So once you close your eyes, you go into alpha. Alpha is like if you close your eyes and you just sit there for a few minutes and you're kind of like in that state, right? And then theta, which is what you went into, is where you lose track of time or you have a loss of time. So, we've all done that before where we're laying in bed and we're like watching something and then we just pass out and we wake up and we go, oh shit, how long was I asleep for? Was it a 10 minutes? Was it 20 minutes? And we don't remember, right? Did I just barely close my eyes and open my eyes or was I out for a couple hours? I don't know. So that's theta. And then delta is when we're in a deep sleep, just regular sleep like we go tonight. So what happened there is you went into a state of theta. And, in all meditation, I don't know if you mentioned this, but I'm assuming it was like a recording or something. But, imagine if you go into a meditation right after you just took a cold shower and had a cup of coffee. You're not going to be able to go into, you're going to be so wired. You're going to hear the whole thing. Now, imagine you go into a meditation, you had a long day, you're watching your phone and you're like, the guy's like, oh, just float up higher and higher. You're already halfway there before you got there. And then suddenly, boom, you're out. And then, they bring you out of it. So that's what happened there. And then what was your next question?
Okay. The other thing was there was a woman I used to follow about 4 years ago, and she used to talk about hypnosis. And she said that what she does, she used a term that I don't know if I can say it correctly. She said that she puts people into the deepest stage of sleep, somnambulistic stage of sleep. And people remember past lives and all kinds of things. How does that compare to the stage of sleep that you put people into?
Yeah, so it's the same thing, that theta state. So alpha, you could tap into past lives without going that deep. You could tap into it and remember it just as you and I are talking about it now. It's very fast. It's very easy. You just have to ask specific questions and go down a certain path. The more relaxed you are, the easier it is and the faster the answers come. Sometimes, people just, if they're wired, you got to get them to relax and kind of calm down so that the answers come a little quicker. Plus, like when I first started this, it would take me 5, 6, 7 minutes to find a memory. Now I can find a memory very fast. Like if I want to let go of something in my mind that's like bothering me and I could tell and I catch it, I go, where did this start? And it's like, oh, grandpa. Oh, what was grandpa? Oh, because grandpa da da da. I'm like, oh shoot. Oh, and it's literally that fast, like 30 seconds. I find it, boom, it's gone. But again, that's because I do this all the time and I practice. So yes, you can tap into all that crazy stuff. And some people believe in past lives, some don't. I'll tell you this. There's evidence. I don't know if you could say it's proof. It's pretty close to proof, but you could just YouTube like 5-year-old talks about past life, and you'll get like a 4 or 5-year-old kid, 4 or 5, 6-year-old kid that'll talk about some event that happened in World War II, and they'll describe a specific scenario as a specific person. And then, these researchers will go back and find out that whoever this person says they were that exact scenario played out. Right now, how does this 5-year-old kid know something that happened, 80 years ago or whatever? And so there's a lot of evidence around that. But what I will say is I've proven this with many people. I've even proven it with myself, is the genetic memory thing. I've had people, one client in particular, this is one of the coolest stories ever. We were going into the motion of hurt. He was letting it go. And, he's going through his thing and he's like, oh man, this is weird. He's like, it's winter time. He's like, it's my grandpa. It's the winter time and I'm in a barn. I'm like, you're in a barn? He's like, yeah. And we're talking about it. He's like, I don't know what's going on, but I feel like we're all going to die. Okay, cool. So, we do the thing, we let it go. So he was so I don't know, impressed or whatever, that he shared the story with his dad. He's like, Dad, I work with this hypnotist guy and I went to his memory with grandpa and it was this whole thing in World War II or something. And so turns out the dad asked him, he's like, oh yeah, where were you? He said, we were in a barn. He's like, how many people were there? There was 5 of us. What were you guys wearing? If we were wearing coats. What time of the year? It was winter. Well, it turns out his dad, my client's dad, had overheard the grandfather telling a war story one day to the grandfather's brother. Okay. Now the grandfather never told the dad. The dad just overheard it in the other room. And what happened was his grandfather's from Russia. This was during World War II. And his grandfather got shot or something happened and he was wounded and he was in a hospital. And while he was in the hospital started getting bombed. So everybody just immediately evacuated. And when the grandfather started evacuating, he grabbed a Nazi's jacket and put it on because it was the middle of winter. And there was another group of people, whatever. Mm-hmm. So the Russians, they found him and he's like, no, I'm a Russian. And they're like, okay, yeah, sure you are, right? So they put him in this barn because they wanted to verify the story. They told him, hey, the place got bombed and we all ran and this is the first thing I grabbed. So they had to verify it. And what they were going to do is if the story didn't pan out true, they were going to execute him the next day. So that was 100% a genetic memory that nobody ever told my client. And it was in there, and I've proven this with myself. Just the other day, I was at my dad's house and I asked him about my great-great-grandpa. My great-grandpa. So his dad's dad. And I said, was great-grandpa a merchant? And he's like, yeah. He's like, yeah, how did you know? And I was like, one time I was doing a meditation and I went into my mind and like, I saw him just like selling stuff as like a merchant. And he's like, yeah, that's crazy. That's crazy that you know that. But yeah, he was. And mind you, I don't know anything about my great-grandpa. I don't know his name. I don't know what he looks like. I don't know nothing. Right. So genetic memories, those are definitely provable.
That's a powerful story.
And
yeah.
One last question. You earlier said something, you mentioned tarot and you mentioned Egypt and how they used to use them. It sounded like you said they were trying to, they used them for cover. What was your statement earlier about Egypt and the tarot?
Yeah, so the gypsies are from Egypt, right? They're the gypsies, Egyptians. And they put because the Catholics and the Romans were going around killing everybody that didn't believe in their religion. So they took their practice. I'm not an expert on this by any means, but I don't know if you would call it a religion or what, but they put all that information in the tarot cards. So everything within the tarot cards, the colors, the symbols, everything means something.
The numbers.
Yeah, the numbers. And actually, if you meditate on a tarot card, you will get a lot of hidden and ancient knowledge. Like one time I did a meditation. I know people think tarot cards are evil, and trust me, I used to think all this shit. Like I saw the tarot cards, I'm like the devil card or whatever, the death card. I'm like, oh no, but I remember meditating on this. I think it was the moon, or no, the star card. I forget. It's been a while. And the most interesting thing came to me. I was like, you just hold it and you just look at it and you just sit there for 5-10 minutes, and then all these ideas start coming to you. And the crazy thing came to me, and what it was is that you guys remember that song, "When you wish upon a star, make
Yeah.
a difference to you."
Yeah.
So I learned, maybe it's true, maybe it's not, I don't know. But when you really want something and you really want it, you're supposed to send your intentions to the stars, to the moon, because the moon enhances manifestation, prayer, whatever you want to call it. It has many different names. It all means the same thing. By sending your intention, because that the moon and the sun are like they basically magnify whatever it is your intentions are. So wishing upon a star is literally like an ancient practice. So is that, can it be proven? I don't know, but it's a pretty freaking random thing to come from a meditation. So so yeah, very, very fascinating stuff.
Thanks so much.
Yeah, no problem.
Thank you, Zach. Yes.
Hello, Gail.
Hello.
Yeah, Gail. Got a question for Don. Good program. Yeah. Yeah, I think the gypsies are ancient Romans in Romania, but we don't care about that. I got a question for you.
No, it's like he said, the
Genetically,
gypsies,
they're Hindu peoples.
Egypt.
Egypt
The
and
word
India.
Egypt, gypsy. Yeah.
Egypt
Okay.
and India.
Okay. Got a question, honest question. There, 175 years ago, a prophetess, of course, a woman, had over 3,000 visions. Her first vision, according to testimony, was in the church. I think both of these things happened. I want to get your opinion. She held out with an outstretched arm a heavy Bible for a long period of time, 30 minutes, 45 minutes, superhuman. She fell into the floor, and they brought a doctor in, and they could not, or they did determine that she was not breathing. So extra strength and not breathing. Was she hypnotized? And they called it a trance. Go ahead. Thanks, Tom.
Okay. Can you say the first part again? It was a lady. I heard she was holding out a Bible for 45 minutes, and then something happened after that.
Yeah, the story is she fell into the floor, and the group went out, I think, the story is, and brought a doctor in to verify that she was not breathing during when she was in the floor.
Oh, okay. Honestly, I don't know, but I know that there are, you can, when you tap into hypnotic states, you can definitely tap into like more potential than you do otherwise. You can make people not feel pain and things like that. But I don't know on that one. I will say, you guys want to talk about some interesting stuff? You guys want to talk about demons and
I do know that in 1966, in 1966, every doctor in Washington, D.C. that was an obstetrician took hypnotism to use it instead of drugs in labor.
Oh, wow. I didn't know that. That's a great fact. I'll tell you what.
I have a question.
Yeah.
We have talked for some months about this. The Lifton, the book by Lifton that talks about Korean War, many of these things were used by some hypnotists that were not reputable. And many of us that sat in kingdom halls on hard chairs were told that if we left, our life would fall into disruin. We would all become drug addicts. We would all want suicides. We'd all be bad people. This is not true. We know this is not true. We know we can be free. We know we can let go, and we know we can have happy lives. But I want to ask you, how would one write a script to take that away?
Take what part away?
Around the world, and they've all got fears of Armageddon, and they all have this memory of this. If you leave, bad stuff will happen.
Yeah. Yeah. So
Yeah.
that's a deep-seated limiting belief. So we would go into where did that start? And it may be childhood thing, or like Gail said before, some of this stuff is genetic, right? And it
So
goes
this
back.
started in a kingdom hall.
In the Kingdom Hall. Yeah.
These were put from the podium to the minds of the people in the audience,
Mhm.
using
Right.
energy and so forth.
Yeah, yeah. So I don't want to say this is 100% because I've never come across that per se. But if I had a client come to me, if I had to just give it my best shot, this is what I do. I don't want to say like this is 100%, this will work every time. Um, uh, but it would be finding the root. Where did this start? Again, did it start when you were a child? Was it before birth? All that. And then going back and reframing what that means, right? What is the limiting belief that if I leave, things will all fall apart or whatever, I forgot exactly what you said. Is
It was
again,
told
going
to us
back,
from the
finding out.
podium in the books. It's a teaching that we grew up with.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
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 Mhm.
So how do you get rid of any learning that you learned when you were a child? You know?
You disregard it.
Yeah. Like there's a lot of stuff I used to believe when I was a kid that I don't believe anymore.
Right.
Even really deep-seated stuff. So yeah, I've never had that exact thing. So, um,
Yeah.
what was I going to say? Oh, so I'll give you my opinion. What I think a lot of this stuff is, the whole religion thing and all that. This is what I think. So, um, how do you, okay. So there's something that I'll do with clients from time to time if we need to, and it's what's called conflict resolution. Okay. So when somebody's in a conflict, when they're like, I don't know if I should do this, or I don't know if I should do that, right? Or there's many different options. What's happening is there's all these little pieces, okay? And they're not seeing the big picture of what they want to resolve, okay? So let me back up here. Let's take a divorce court lawyer, okay? And two people are fighting. Husband and wife are like, no, but I want this and I want that and da 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 da. And if there's all these different pieces, it creates more and more conflict. And the more pieces there are, the more there is a conflict. Okay. But ultimately, what is the big picture of the husband and the wife that are getting divorced? What do they actually want? They just want to separate and they just want to go their own way and be at peace. Right? Above everything else. It's not really about the cars and the money. They just want to be able to move on and both feel like, okay, I'm happy. I'm good. I'm done. But when they get into the minutia of all the little details, that's what creates the conflict. Okay. So let's talk about this with religion. Who are we? Okay. At the forget about color, race, religion, where you're born, fuck all that. What are we at the end of the day? We're all human beings. And honestly, we all just want, like, everybody just wants to live their lives and just be happy and just, right?
True.
That's the big
Mhm.
picture. We're all
Mhm.
human. Now, how do you get people to fight with each other? You got to break it up into little groups. So how do we do that? We go, you're black, you're white, you're yellow, you're red, right? Okay. You're black and you're a part of this religion. Oh, but there's a
Balloon groups.
subset within that religion. Yeah.
Mm.
And then what
Mhm.
happens when you have all these, and then you're this political party. Now you have so many different little pieces that nobody can ever come together. Okay.
Mm.
And so was that done on purpose? I would probably say so. If my conspiratorial mind would say, yeah, this has to be by design, because a lot of the religious texts and everything are kind of the same, but like, wait, so you mean to tell me that 1 billion Muslims are going to hell because they don't believe in Jesus Christ, or they think that Muhammad was the last prophet? And wait,
Right.
however many Christians are going to go to hell because they believe? No, that's all bullshit. That, to me, it's done purposely to get everybody to fight with each other. I'm right, you're wrong. And meanwhile, look, if there's two people securing a bank and I want to get the gold and I don't want to fight with them, that's too much. How would I get the gold? Well, I'm going to get them to fight with each other. So meanwhile, while they're tussling, they don't even see me. I'm going to go right in behind them and go and take all the gold and leave, and they don't even know I did it. So
Wow. Yeah.
that's what I think is a lot of this stuff goes on. And I think it's done purposely to suppress people, keep them in fear, keep them in guilt, keep them in shame, so that they can never truly ascend and level up. So that's
Yeah.
my
You just said a lot there, Dom. Thank you.
yeah.
Is there a quick exercise that you can leave us with tonight? I know we're way over. I'm so
No,
sorry.
I don't mind. I'm honestly enjoying this. This is really interesting
Are
for me.
you?
So
Okay.
yeah, this is really
Okay.
interesting.
Is there a quick exercise
I would
that you
like to honestly show you guys something, because this is one of my favorite stories to tell.
Okay.
I don't tell it all the time just because people already think, oh, Dom the hypnotist, that's already kind of crazy, because people they're just uneducated, and I get it. I used to think the same thing, but it's in regards to like spirits and because I'm assuming, I don't know, but I'm assuming that people in religion, in different religions, probably have a lot of you know supernatural experiences that they can't explain. You mentioned suicidal thoughts. Uh, I can't really prove this. I have proven it in my own right, but I can't like give you, I can't show it to you. But a lot of times suicidal thoughts are people that have demonic possession or attachments and things like that. And I know that kind of might sound weird, but I will tell you guys a story, and then I'll show you evidence of what I'm about to tell you. Okay? Do you guys want to
There
hear it?
have been many suicides, just to clear that up. There have been many.
Yeah. Oh,
Yeah.
I
Because
believe it.
they've
Yeah.
lost their families or because of shunning. So
Yeah. People shaming them, right?
yes.
So, um, okay. So I'll give you I'll try to make this somewhat fast. So one of my mentors, that I hired to coach me, this is like a couple of years ago, right in the middle of the pandemic. So this gentleman he was a Navy SEAL for 24 years. He was in the CIA for 11 years. His name is Michael Jaco. Okay. So I hired him to coach me, and he taught me a lot of interesting things. And I won't go over everything right now, but I'll tell you the most fascinating thing and this is what brought me to know that there is a God. Okay. So as we would do, he taught me all this cool stuff, remote viewing and, how to tap in your intuition, blah, blah, blah. And he would always talk to me about demons, and he would talk about how he was in war and people were possessed. And, a lot of that stuff there's not just the physical war on the physical plane. There's also the spiritual war between angels and demons. And maybe you guys believe this, maybe you don't. I don't know. This is just my experience. Okay. And I'm going to show you. Yep.
Yep.
That's me. Huh?
She was just agreeing. Yeah.
Okay. Yes. So, he would always talk to me about demons and all this stuff. And I was always kind of like, man, you're a little kooky, but whatever. Well, one day, one of my buddies, he messages me, and he went to jail for a little while or whatever. And so he's like, Dom, I haven't seen you in a while. Let's hang out. So I'm like, all right, cool. So I go and I pick him up, and this is right in the middle of COVID. And, he's telling me stories about jail and stuff, just stupid stories, whatever. And he's talking, he's like, man, things are tough right now. He's like, it's almost impossible to get a job because I'm a felon now. And he goes, at the same time, I don't even want to say this on camera because I don't want to say this. The details of this story are so much better, but I just don't want to say it on camera because I just don't want to get involved with these people, and I don't want them to I just don't want anything from it.
Yeah.
But let's just say this, okay? Yeah. Oh, I thought somebody said Dom. So basically, this is what happened without giving away too many details. He was going to make a decision to do something, to join a group of people that on the surface you may not think had any demonic, satanic things going on. And I told him, I said, dude, don't do that, because I'm telling you right now, at the lower levels, they probably don't tell you. It's probably all, hey, dude, yeah. But at the higher levels, I'm telling you right now, they're worshiping the devil, they're worshiping Satan. Okay. And he's like, nah, I don't think so, blah, 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 whatever. Okay. So fast forward, and mind you, this gentleman, he was in war. And I don't know if any of you guys have ever been to war or if you ever known anybody, but people who have either seen people die or they've killed people themselves, they have this look in their eyes. And I don't know how to explain it. It's like people call it the 1,000-yard stare. It's just a weird twinkle. It's just a little different than a normal person. So this guy has had that look. Okay. And he's always like, he's one of those people where he's really cool, but you're like, this guy can like snap at any moment. Right. So anyways, 30 minutes goes by or whatever. We're hanging out, we're pumping gas. And he shows me a picture of this gentleman. And again, I don't want to say too much because I just don't want this to like dovetail into anything else. But long story short, what I was telling to him, he finally saw it. Okay.
Mhm.
Now, I'm sitting in my car. So if you can imagine, I'm sitting here, he's sitting here. And when he looks at the picture, he goes like this. His body just moves. Okay. And then he looks me in the eyes. And for the first time in years, the look that was in his eye was no longer there. It was like, he just looked like a different person. I'm like, look, I didn't say anything, but I looked at him like, oh, this guy looks different, but what the fuck? So he's like, oh my God, Dom, I can't believe I didn't see it. He's like, you're right. Holy shit, dude. Fuck. And he's like, I'm so glad we had this conversation, man. Thank you so much. You know what? You're right. I'm not going to go down that path. I'm going to do the right thing. I'm just going to get a job and I'm going to make things work. Okay. So I'm like, okay, cool. So, I go home that night. I don't think anything of it. And I fall asleep and I'm having a dream. And it's one of those really, really real dreams where you're like there, for real. And I'm hanging out with my buddy. And all of a sudden, like we're face to face like this. And then out of nowhere, this demon looking thing jumps out of him and goes like this, rah, right? And it like jumps at me. And I wake up. I'm like, holy shit, what was that? And my chest, my stomach, my legs, everything was on fire. Okay. So I was a little freaked out, but I'm like, whatever, just a nightmare. No big deal. Well, then I was working with my mentor, the Navy SEAL guy, and I'm telling him the story. And he goes into like his little like meditative thing. He's like, oh no, that was a demon. Da-da-da-da-da. It's trying to scare you because you convince your buddy to not go down that path or whatever.
Mhm.
So I'm like, I'm still not convinced, right? I'm like, yeah, maybe not. Well, maybe 2 months later, one day, and you guys can believe this or not. I don't, whatever. I'm just going to tell you the story as it is. But we did one of our sessions. And prior to this, I started thinking to myself, I'm like, I'm working with people on the physical realm and we're releasing trauma and things like that. But I really feel like I should help people on the spiritual realm because there's a spiritual war going on between good and evil, not necessarily a religious thing, but
Yeah.
just good and evil, right?
Mhm.
And then 2 weeks later, we jump on a call and he tells me, he says, the first thing we jump on the call, he says, Dom, I've been instructed by the angelic realm to teach you how to cast demons out of people. Right. And so I'm still not on board with this, but I'm just kind of like, I'm trying not to laugh. I don't know. I'm just feeling weird. I'm like, what, the angelic realm? Like, what is that, dude? I don't know what this guy
Galactic Federation.
But yeah, exactly. I'm like, what is exactly?
Yeah.
But it was weird because I was just thinking about that. I'm like, okay, cool. So he teaches me how to do it. Okay. And I'll tell you guys, it's very simple. Demonic entities, you can call them, there's many different names for them. Essentially, we are all vibrational beings. We're all energetic beings. Okay. And I've shown this in my group. You could do a little exercise, whatever. So depending on how we feel will depend on what frequency we are vibrating at. Okay. So when we are now this is talking about what you were talking about earlier. If you look at one of those vibrational charts, it has like shame, guilt, anger, fear, depression, and then it goes like neutral, love, happiness, joy, whatever. So on the low spectrum, guilt, fear, and shame are the lowest. And that's what these entities are, these demonic beings or whatever. And so when you're in a low frequency, that's when those things can start to attach to you. Okay. But if you're in a high frequency, the highest vibration is love. And when you're in the love vibration, those entities cannot attach to you. Okay. So think of it like light to a vampire. When the vampires, when the light comes on, the vampires have to go away. So when you're in the love vibration, demons or negative entities can't attach to you. Okay.
That's
So
why
he
they
teaches. What's that?
that's why they hated me. I was too happy, bright, magical, wonderful, and joyful.
There you go. And remember, suicidal thoughts. What did you say earlier? What is the emotion?
I said
No, Gail.
they wanted to bring us down.
Yes. What was the emotion you said, Gail?
Down.
Shame.
Shame.
If you look, that's the shame. Okay. So that's the lowest frequency. So I'm still not sold. Okay. I'm just like, yeah, whatever. Okay, cool. Well, then he says you practice this technique on somebody that you think might have an attachment. Okay. So that's on a Monday. So that same day, I'm listening to my favorite podcast in the world. It's called the Tinfoil Hat Podcast. And they have a demonologist on the podcast. I'm like, oh, this is interesting. My mentor supposedly taught me how to cast a demon out of somebody. I don't know if this works, and here, the demonologist, same day. This is cool. So I'm listening to this guy and I'm kind of like, yeah, maybe not. I don't know. This sounds kind of quirky. This is silly, whatever. So that night, right before I go to bed, I'm like, oh, you know what? I got to do my little technique thing. So I'm like, who can I do that to? So I go, oh, my buddy, the one I just told you guys about. I'm like, he could probably use it, So right before I go to bed, I do the technique, boom. Well, then at about 12:15 or so, I wake up and I have sleep paralysis. Now, have you ever had sleep paralysis before, Gail?
I've heard of it. No, I've never.
Okay. So I used to have sleep paralysis a lot when I was younger. I hadn't had it in years. So sleep paralysis, essentially you're awake, but you can't move. And it feels like there's a presence there, but you don't really know, you're like, So this time I have sleep paralysis, but it's different because there's something in my left ear growling like this. So as this is happening, I'm freaking out, but I can't move because I'm paralyzed.
Right.
And this thing's growling in my ear, and I start thinking, "Oh my God, Dom, no! What did you do? What did you do? No, this is so bad. Like I'm not ready for this." And my mind's going like 100 miles an hour. And I calm myself down. I'm like, "Wait a minute! It wants me to be in fear. No, love vibration." So I started thinking of my daughter and everybody I love, and then the sound goes away. Everything clears out. Well, now I'm laying in my bed, and my adrenaline's going. I'm like, when you have a paradigm shifting moment like that, it's like. It's very weird, but it's just, I don't know how to explain it, but things just are different. So I'm lying in my bed and now I can't sleep. I'm like, oh God, what did I get myself into? So I decide I'm like, I'm going to go in the living room and just watch some TV and hopefully it'll help me go to sleep, So I go and I turn on the hallway lights. I turn on the living room. I turn on the kitchen, the dining, all the lights are on. and I'm sitting there, I'm eating a bowl of granola. And I open my phone, I open my Instagram, my DMs, and guess who I have a direct message from? Guess. You'll never guess, but you can try.
That guy.
Yeah. The guy on the podcast?
You guessed it, Gail. The demonologist that I was just listening to on the podcast 10 hours ago.
Wow.
Now, mind you, I never even heard of this guy. The first time I ever heard of him. Don't know who he is. And I'm looking at my phone. I'm like, Daniel Gillis, what the? And I go back to the podcast. I'm like, and I go back to the page and I'm scrolling. I'm like, this is the same guy. This is like at 12. And I still have all the messages. So I have proof. And I'm my mind, I'm kind of thinking like, am I dreaming right now? What is going on? This is so crazy. So I told the demonologist my whole story, everything I just told you up until that point. This isn't even the crazy part. Okay. I'm going to show you guys the crazy part. So I jump on the phone with him and my mind has never been more clear in my life. At the time I lived in an apartment and I could see every blade of grass. I could see the stucco on the walls. I could hear everything. I could see all the leaves of the tree. Everything was just so clear in that moment. It was very real. It was very weird. So the guy told me, the demonologist is like, yeah, does your buddy, is he an alcoholic? I would say, yeah, whatever. And he's like, yeah, it's a real thing, man. I know people think I'm just a kook, but it's a real thing. So cool. So now fast forward, and this is where it gets interesting. So all that was really weird to me. And again, I'm still not 100% on board. I'm just kind of like, whatever. Well, one day, one of our clients signs up. This is like a couple years ago. And in our first initial call, something was just in the back of my mind was like, something is going on with this girl. I don't know what it is, something dark here, you know? And mind you, this girl's normal, successful, beautiful girl. You would never think it wasn't like she showed up like wearing like having black nails and black hair and she's all like weird. No, just a
Right.
normal.
Yeah.
And so sure enough, on our second or third call, we jump on and she's like, "Oh my God, Dom, I haven't been able to sleep." She's like, "I've been doing cocaine, with my boyfriend, and I've been getting drunk and I'm having these reoccurring nightmares." And she's like, "And I'm starting to hallucinate. I'm seeing spirits in my room." And I'm thinking like, you're not hallucinating. Like you're doing so many drugs and alcohol that the veil is being removed and you're seeing the spirits. So we start to remove this reoccurring nightmare that she's having. Okay. Now she's sitting up against the wall like this, like you guys are me, I'm her, and there's a mirror behind her like this. Okay. So as we start going through the session, her face starts to glitch out. Okay. And I'm like, we were on FaceTime on my MacBook
Like
and she was on her.
shape-shifting?
No,
No,
that
just
would be cool.
glitching out. Okay.
Yeah, just glitching.
Okay.
So then her face starts glitching out. I'm like, okay, whatever. But then the glitch, now it starts going, her whole body starts glitching out. And I'm like, that's weird. Nothing in the background, just her body. And then the glitch starts going like this. The whole, like, imagine if my whole body was glitch, but it was like gray, and the glitch starts coming out of her like this. And I'm like, oh my God, I think there's like a spirit leaving this woman's body. So I grab my phone, I start taking pictures, and this thing comes out of her like this, and it rises up above her, and you can see it in the mirror.
In the mirror. Oh my God.
And as I'm doing this, she's literally going like this. She's like, oh my God, this feels so good. Oh, it feels like energy's leaving my body. Oh my God, this is so amazing. And then, so this whole thing's happening, and I'm not telling her I'm taking pictures because I don't want it to move or anything. I don't want to mess it up. So I'm doing it. And then she's like, and then she's, whatever she's done. And she looks at me and she goes, oh my God, Dom. She's like, I finally feel like myself. I haven't felt like myself in years. And I said, I think I know why. And I showed her, the pictures, and I'll show you guys so you can see for yourself.
Wow.
So obviously I blocked
We have
her
a
face.
lot of work to do.
What's that?
We have a lot of work to do
What do you mean by that?
in this community.
Oh,
You
yeah.
said so much without realizing there's a lot of work to be done.
Yeah. Oh,
Yeah.
yeah. There's
Yeah.
definitely, this is a real thing. I know. Look, before I got into this, like I said, I didn't believe there's God. I was just like a angry, person that didn't believe in ghosts. Like my fiance, when we first met, she'd tell me about ghosts and spirits when she was a kid. And I'm like, you were just hallucinating. You were just, a dumb kid, didn't know what's going on. So I'm not somebody that like, I was on the opposite end of how I'm speaking to you now. But there's just way too many events that have happened that have just, I know now. That's why I say I know there's a God, because I know there's a fucking devil. So if there's a devil, there has to be a God. You know what I mean? Because or demons and angels, all that's real. But I'll show you this picture. You were bombed on the lower level. What's that? Oh, we were love bombed on the lower level. What does that mean?
Earlier you were talking about your friend getting into an organization, and you're like, oh, it seems this way on the lower end, but it's demonic at the higher end. So I put
is that what was happening?
Relate to that.
Yeah.
We could all relate to that part.
Yeah.
So
we related to that part.
Did you guys were they actually like worshiping Satan at the higher levels like that? You don't know?
But I do know they were giving hypnotic suggestions to the audience, and they were not good suggestions.
What were they saying?
I just tried to tell you. They were telling us in large meeting halls that if you ever leave this organization,
right. Okay, I thought you were saying
person, your life will go to hell. You'll never amount to things, and many of us have amounted to quite a bit, and we've been healthy and all. But this suggestion was literally put into their minds because I dropped the pencil and I looked around to pick up my pencil, and I was seeing a whole audience that had that same look in Vegas when they're in the audience. It was
Right, where they're just like,
hypnosis.
yeah, wow. Yeah, anytime. That's why, remember, fear, guilt, shame, that's the lowest frequency. So what do they tell you?
Mhm.
Do this and you're going to die. Fear. You
Yeah.
leave and we're going to, guilt, and we're going to shame you. So anytime, that's red flag. Oh, you're trying to fear and guilt and shame me? Nope, red flag.
Yeah.
So check this picture out. Let me find it here. Love bomb you. That's an interesting term, and that makes sense. So
Mhm.
it's not going to come as clear. So I blocked her face out, but look at this here.
Oh, wow.
You see the eyebrows, the eye socket, the nose,
Yeah.
the nostrils,
Mhm.
the lips, the chin.
That's the
The whole-
entity that we're
That's
seeing?
the entity. Yep. That's the head.
Oh my God.
So, and her face is down here, but I blocked it out.
Right.
Obviously.
Oh, wow.
But if it was on your phone and not in the computer, you would see even in clear, go like, oh my God, that is, yes. And so I've worked with people who are suicidal before, and they always have an attachment, and the attachment is trying to tell them, jump off your balcony, just turn your car, drive off the bridge, and they again, you're in that lower frequency. So if you want to not have these problems, you have to raise your frequency to love, to happiness. That's why you got to get rid of resentment. You got to get rid of anger. You got to get rid of hurt, because that keeps you in that lower level and it keeps you attached. So how do you get in the love vibration? You think about people you love. You think about things you love to do. You do the things you love to do. Anything that would make you feel good, exercise, all the things that we all know what to do. But when you think about and feel in that love frequency, they can't touch you. Remember, it's light to a vampire. They cannot interface in that frequency. So, but yeah, no, it's very fascinating.
Dom, this was great. Thank you so much. We could go on about this.
Yeah, no problem. Thank you for listening.
What happens, What you mentioned, love being the highest, you're on the highest vibration.
Mhm.
What happens if the vibrations increase? I read the Celestine prophecy about 7 years ago. That's why I'm asking that question.
So like enlightenment, is that what you're saying?
No, I'm just asking you, what happens if I don't know anything, you know it all. What happens
I don't know at all, but yeah.
You know what I'm saying. You know.
Yeah, no, I get you.
What happens if vibrations increase? You get to love. Can the vibrations increase any?
Then you're loving your community and your world
Well,
and your planet. You know,
Yeah, so
I can get it from you all the time, Pixie. I'll ask you. But I want to hear what he has to say, because we don't see him all.
yeah, so
Question after that.
yeah, so there is, again, it's hard to you can't quantify this or touch it. So it's, it's all, at the end of the day, it's mostly theories, right? But when you feel love, you know what it feels like, right? Things change. But the highest of the highest is enlightenment. But that's essentially, when I say love is the highest vibration, I mean that's the highest vibration that most people get to. Enlightenment is when you do things that monks do and all that kind of stuff. So it's a lot of practicing of meditation and blah 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 that your normal person, average everyday person, I don't believe by any means I've reached enlightenment, but I can definitely get to the love vibration very quickly,
So a negativity will be unaffected by it, basically.
Yeah. So, and you can influence other people to be in love, so not in love with you, but in the love vibration. So
Right.
if whoever's vibration is stronger will always influence the other person. So if they're more convinced about being pissed than you are about feeling love or happiness or whatever, they'll eventually influence you to feel anger or whatever. If it's the opposite, if you're feeling love and happiness and you're more convinced about that than they are about whatever the emotion is, you will influence other people to feel that way. So, yeah.
Okay. Dom, this was so great. Where can we find you for more information? Because we do have a show after this.
Yeah, no problem.
Yeah.
So you just go to my Instagram, Dom the Hypnotist. I have a YouTube channel, Dom the Hypnotist. Those are the best ways to get a hold of me there. So.
Wow.
We do have we are waiting for Acosta Babe's not on quite yet. if you want to keep your guest on a little bit, if you have a little more time, it's fine. We got a lot of callers that still would like to say hello. You get time, Dom? And
Yeah, that's fine.
all right, go ahead. Let's open the lines up. Go ahead. Let's speak up.
Hi, Gail, real quick, and Dom, great detailing. I think that you're referring to the Hawkins scale. I think it's a great one for folks to look up.
Oh, is that what it's called? Yeah.
Yeah.
Go ahead. You're on with the hypnotist. Go ahead.
No,
Hi, Gail.
We got Canada. Go ahead, Canada.
Hi, Gail. This is Brian. I wanted to ask your guest a couple of questions.
Hi, Brian.
Hi. I might have missed the very first part, but I wanted to ask a couple of questions of him, find out a bit more about his beliefs and stuff. Dom, did you have any Christian religious background or other religious background as a child growing up?
Yeah, so believe it or not, I'm half Mexican. So, we initially grew up Catholic, and then, my mom had me when she was in high school. She was 15 years old. And so, we kind of just had that. And then my mom joined the army. She kind of separated from the family. Not like I'm never going to talk to you again, but she just moved because the army moves you around and everything. So we bounce around and everything. And then once I was maybe in middle school, we kind of like got in touch with the Christian religion, and we started going to church there. And then, like any other kid, you're just like, I don't want to do this,
Was that in Mexico or in the U.S.?
No, in California. I mean, Mexican as in like my family's from my grandparents are from Mexico, but yeah. So that was my kind of upbringing there.
What type of Protestant religion was that?
I have no idea. I don't remember. I just remember going to Catholic church and mass and getting baptized, or I don't know if I remember getting baptized, but I was baptized. And just, man, Catholic churches have the ugliest, scariest churches ever. Like you walk in there, it's like, man, this seems demonic to me. This don't seem like love and light. It seems like this place is scary, man. But this is weird.
Yeah, some of them can be a bit gaudy. That's true, but not all of them. The other thing, so Guy, you've kind of elaborated as some of the things that you believe that I wasn't sure exactly where you're coming from. But now, so when you speak of angels and demons, are you speaking of them in the sense that it's that angelology and demonology is understood in the Christian West, or are you talking in the Buddhist sense? Like how do you view the invisible realm?
Yeah. So I don't view it as separated like that. I don't view it as I don't know if you were here when I talked about the conflict part. Was I telling you about that?
Conflict resolution.
Were you here for that? So this is just my personal belief is that, again, at the end of the day, we all have the same thing in common, which we're all just human beings, right? And if we all realize that, we all get along, we go, I don't care if you're black, I don't care if you're gay, I don't care if you're this religion, I don't care. We're just human beings. Give me a hug. Like, it's not a big deal. Right. But as soon as it starts getting broken up in all those little sections, you're black, you're Christian, you're this, you're white, you're Mexican, you're this, and everybody has all these little factions. Now everybody's fighting over who's right and who's wrong. So I don't look at it in the sense of like Buddha or Christian or Muslims. I just look at it as in the sense of good of the light and love and that aspect, and then darkness and evil and that aspect. The only time I've never seen I don't see like spirits and things like that. The only time I've ever seen anything was when I was a kid, and I did see what I think, I don't know, but 3 angels spinning in a circle like this in the backyard when I was a kid. It was around when my grandpa was dying. And that's the only time I've ever seen. Since then, I haven't had any other than the one I showed you guys on my phone. But I wasn't in person, right? That was on the camera. But I look at it like that, just good and bad, demons and angels.
Universal.
Yeah.
more
I
so.
might be right. I might be wrong. I don't know, but
Mm.
Now, the hypnosis thing, is it like, how is that related to your idea of what see, when you were first talking earlier in the evening, there was no indication of your idea of what I would call the invisible realm, meaning the spirit realm.
mm-hmm.
And the last half an hour or so you've been talking about that. Now, one of the things that you said earlier, though, was, and this is very good. I'm really happy that somebody has had the temerity to actually say this, because there's a lot of the people that are listening to this program, programs like it, are because of how hurt they were as Jehovah's Witnesses, especially if they're raised and then ended up leaving and getting shunned. They're very hurt because of their family being harsh with them and the shunning aspect. Now, those people, it's very good that you've told them, look, you have the power to change this. This is within your realm.
Mm-hmm.
Now, some people can't seem to muster that idea in their mind to make it strong enough to overcome the hurt and the pain.
Yeah.
And some of them find it very, very difficult. And I can't really say, I've never had to go through it really myself, so I can't speak to it, how bad that must be, particularly if you were in any church or any group. But this one is very strong in the way that it views loyalty to the group.
Right.
It's very, very harsh if you become disloyal.
Yeah.
So I can't, but anyway, that's good that you've told people that, and I would echo that. Do at least that part of what this gentleman is saying. Everybody, grab hold of your freedom and get rid of all this other stuff that's holding you back, and grab what's left of your life and make the most of it. Now, what about this business? The reason why I asked you about your religious background, you were talking about how we make our own reality.
Mm-hmm.
And the example that you gave was of a patient who got into an auto accident, and you suggested that was of her own making.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think that there's any way of knowing for sure whether or not, because the fact of the matter is there is bad things happen to people. So, for example, if you're in Ukraine right now and you're being bombed by the Russians, you did not make that reality yourself. It happened to you. If you're a child and you were raped by a monster, you did not create that reality. Somebody else did.
Mm-hmm.
So I would differ with you on that, and I'd like to hear your comments on that, because I don't know if you hold that as a hard and fast rule, but I've just given two examples that seem to be contrary.
Yeah.
To the idea that you create.
Yeah, that's usually what most people say is like, well, you're over here, you don't, so do you believe we all have a soul? I do. I don't even believe I know that we have a soul. Now, do I know for sure what happens to our soul when we leave, when we go? No, I don't know. But if we do have a soul, and let's say reincarnation is real and past life, I believe in past lives just because I've had my own personal experiences with it. So that means that when I die, I come back into this realm, whatever you want to call it, and I come in with a knowingness. Now, I don't consciously know this, right? You learn lessons as you go through life, and different levels are unlocked. It's like kind of like a video game, right? Like before I didn't believe in demons. Now I know it's real. Nobody could ever tell me not, or this or that. Okay, cool. You can say what you want, but I know my reality.
Yeah.
So if that's the case, and we're coming back into this realm to learn lessons, to go to the higher levels, then we chose to be in the position that we're in. Now, can I prove it? No. But guess what? I'd rather have the mentality that I created this reality rather than being a circumstance of my reality. So, you know, again, am I right? Am I wrong? I don't know, but that's my stance on it.
If a guy breaks into your house tonight and puts a gun to your neck and shoots you,
I would take responsibility for that, because what is going on internally in my own mind? Why did that person pick my house out of all the houses they could pick? Now, the reason why I'm so strong in this belief is because I've seen it over and over and over again. I'll tell you a couple more stories so you can understand. So I had a client come to me one time, and her husband cheated on her so many different times, right? And she wanted to let go of her hurt. And, you know, like I was talking about earlier, it's hard to let go, blah, blah, blah. Now, I know, just because based off experience, that when there's a pattern, it's something going on within our own mind that's creating it. So this is what happened. Her husband would cheat on her, but it was always with her best friends. Always. So she would meet these women, they would become best friends, and then 6 months, a year later, her husband would end up sleeping with them. Now, this happened like almost 20 times. This is over years,
Oh my
you know,
God.
a couple decades.
Uh-huh.
Now, as the listeners, wouldn't you, after a couple times, wouldn't you go, wait a minute, every single time I meet a best friend, they sleep with my husband?
How is she
Well,
attracting that? Yeah.
so this is what happened.
Hey,
When,
I got something to say. You
Mhm.
know, this guy's talking out his ass. I know bullshit when I hear it.
Cool. So I'll finish the story.
Let's finish.
So
Yeah.
this is
Okay.
what happened. When she was 13 years old, she was dating a gentleman who, she didn't know this, but her older sister had dated him previously. So when she started dating him, after about 2 months of finding this out, she realized, oh my God, my sister was dating this guy. Well, guess what? She never told her sister. So she developed the belief that she deserved that treatment from people who are like her sister. So is it true? Is it not true? I mean, if something like that happens to you over and over again, it's something within you. It's not, I have bad luck, I'm a victim. No,
what you're talking
it's
about there,
something going on internally.
what you're talking about there is a well-known psychological phenomenon. But what I'm getting at is, let me put it to you this way. Right now, there's about somewhere between 7 and 8 billion of us on this planet, and what you're suggesting is that there's about 1 billion of us in the West who live in prosperous lands and have freedom and all of that. You're suggesting that the other 6.5 billion chose to go live in a shithole country.
Yeah, those people were born there. Now, how do you know? Here's the thing: you're basing that off of your own opinion. How do you know those people don't want to live there? How do you know, just because you think America's great and prosperous and this and that, maybe they don't think the same thing? Maybe they think that the average person being completely overweight, on anxiety and depression medications and all these problems, maybe they think that living in a third world country in a hut is a great idea. You understand?
More questions. This is Zachary again about this, something you said earlier.
Yeah.
Because I like what I'm hearing. Let me ask you this. Earlier you were talking about, you mentioned the Disney song, When You Wish Upon a Star. And I think you used the term intention.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Right? That was what you used. Okay. Now, I've been reading stuff, and I even think about something that the witnesses, our religion, used to talk about. And one of the things they used to use was to prove that there was a God who created everything. They used Einstein's equation. At the time, it may have been Einstein's theory, and then it started to become Einstein's equation, and that's the E equals mc squared. And the witness explanation was, from a tremendous source of energy, matter can be produced. And that was their proof of creation. In fact, I used it when I was in college in a persuasion speech where the theme was, there is a God. And the professor said that argument and other arguments I gave, she said she had never heard such an effective job done on that subject. And I just mentioned that as in parentheses. But this idea that you, because I just saw something happen with that formula about 2 weeks ago when I was sitting in the barber's chair.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so this the idea of when you say when you wish upon a star, put you in touch. Now, I'm thinking about the book by Wallace D. Wattles. It was called The Science of Getting Rich, and the woman Rhonda Byrne, who wrote the video, the book The Secret, and other books on the same subject. She wrote The Secret, and that was about the law of attraction and your thoughts, you attract things to you. Well, in that book, that's one of the books she read. There's a statement, I can't say it correctly, but it says that there's a thinking stuff that fills the interspaces of the universe. There's a thinking stuff that permeates, penetrates, and fills the interspaces of the universe. And then it says, a thought in this substance produces the thing that is imaged by the thought. And then it says, man can image something in his mind, and by impressing his thought upon formless substance, cause the thing he thinks about to be created. There's that idea of this primordial substance, this formless substance that even people's thoughts can act upon. Now, so that's one thing. The same idea I find in the Aquarian Gospel of Jesus the Christ, in the introductory material. There's a statement, a phrase that says, the crystallization of spirit. And I remember at work, I was talking to a person who likes yoga and all that stuff, and I said, creation is the crystallization of spirit. And she starts writing. And I told her, it's not my statement, it's me kind of summing up what I read in the introductory material to the Aquarian Gospel of Jesus the Christ. But there's another book I've read on this, I guess, cosmology or cosmogony or something. And it talks about the realm.
Well, I think we lost Zachary. But anyway,
I want to tell one last story, because this is a very, very hard concept for people to understand. And the reason why I know that is because I resisted this concept of we create everything, we attract everything that happens to us is an unconscious projected. Okay, I'm going to tell you one more story. I had a client of mine who was a disabled police officer. Okay, and for 2 years straight, every day of her life, she was in pain. Her back was in pain at a 12 out of 10. Okay, every single day for 2 years. Now, she had surgery, physical therapy, everything that you can imagine, and nothing worked. Okay. So I explained to her this concept. You created this back pain, whatever it is, and she resisted it, and blah, blah, blah. Okay, cool. Well, once we put her into the hypnotic state and we started talking to her subconscious, this is what we found out. Well, 2 years prior, she had gotten to an altercation with, she called him a perp, perpetrator, a criminal. And something happened, and he resisted and tweaked her back, and that's why she was on disability. Well, she's going back in her memory, and she's talking. She's like, yeah, and I'm asking, what was going on at the time? She's like, man, I was just working so much, and I hated the job, but I just wanted a way out, but I just couldn't leave because I have kids. How am I going to pay my bills? Da-da. I just wanted to leave, but and what she realized, she goes, oh my God, Dom. It's like, I think I created this. I created that scenario. Now, did the perpetrator, the criminal attacked her and her back got hurt, right? Okay. Guess what happened? She didn't have to work there anymore. She still made money. She got exactly what she wanted.
Wow.
Now, guess what happened to her when she opened her eyes? Guess what happened to her back pain?
Gone.
Completely gone.
Wow.
Okay. Now, am I making that up?
Mhm.
What do I get for making up a stupid story like that? Do I get money? Do I get attention? I don't get shit. I get people that think I'm lying and think I'm making this shit up, but I'm not. Okay.
Yeah.
So when I
Mhm.
say that we are creating the scenarios in our reality, whether you're in war, you're a third world, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. We are
I
creating
think
it.
we got Zachary back on. Jack, we got about, we're going to wrap it up. We got 5
Yeah,
Listen, just listen to me, everybody, please. We've got 5 minutes, and we have to go to another program. So go ahead, Zach.
I'm so sorry. I hit myself. I'm wearing a wrist, and I hit the switch and shut myself off. I hung up by mistake. Okay, so I was talking
you
about
did that subconsciously, Zach. You actually wanted to do that.
Yeah. No, actually I hypnotized him to do it because I wanted him to stop so I could tell my story. That's actually what happened.
and I was going to say I wanted you to tell your story.
See, there we go.
Okay, so another publication that I've read on this subject, I won't say the name of it because everybody goes searching, but it refers to the being, and it says that there are two realms of being. One is the subjective realm, where you have this undifferentiated energy and matter. So there's nothing there because there's no difference. It's undifferentiated. But at some point, that differentiation starts. That would be supreme being, and that differentiation starts, and you start to end up with things in the objective realm, which could include angels and spirits and demons and stuff. In one plane of that realm, and in another plane of that realm, you have gluons to galaxies is the term. And gluons is the littlest, teeniest, tiniest subparticle. When I mentioned it to one guy who knew about this, he called it the God particle, but it's the littlest, teeniest, tiniest thing. And so you have those two realms, and of those two planes in the objective realm where things are, where things have been created, and those the phenomenal.
What's your question on this part? What's your question on this part?
It wasn't exactly a question. I kind of making a statement.
Okay. I thought you were going to ask me what I thought about this. I was going to say, I don't know, man. This is way above my head. You sound like a freaking really smart guy.
No. The next thing I was going to say is what you have is this energy matter, and every step of the way in the 7 steps that says the 7 steps of creation, it starts to talk about the densification of energy matter. It becomes denser and denser. And it kind of correlates to the other book where it mentions the crystallization of spirit. I found that fascinating.
Oh, I see. Okay, now I'm kind of understanding. Yeah.
You see what I'm saying? So when I was sitting in the barber's chair 2 weeks ago, and there's that E equals mc square equation, energy equals mass times the speed of light square. Now the speed of light is in English terms is 180,000 miles per second. But I guess to really put the formula right, you'd have to use the metric system, and the numbers would be higher. So energy equals mass times some ultra high number. And so while I was sitting in the barber's chair, I did the algebra and transferred the speed of light over to the other side, which then becomes energy divided by c squared, or the speed of light square, equals mass. So I'm sitting in the barber's chair and I looked at that. I thought that. I'm looking at it, E equals mc squared, and I'm making the changes in my head. And I said, oh my God. I said, there's creation. There's creation. And the barber's sitting there like, say something, speak, say, what do you mean? What's going on? But I could see that the speed of that energy, when you move the speed of light to the other side, now you've got energy divided by the speed of light, and that lowers, if the energy is vibration,
Zach, Zach, listen, Zachary.
Down into matter.
Zachary Einstein. I don't know. I don't know if this is. I don't know if this is really relevant or not. We don't have to go that deep. We don't have to go that deep. We got to get going. We got another program. So.
Yeah. Thank you, Zach. Thank you, everybody who called in tonight. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you guys. That was fun.
And thank you, Don. Dom, we really enjoyed. Yes.
It was not deep. You just tell me, Zach. Okay, let's move on to the next thing.
Well, yeah, but I told you we had like five minutes. We got a pasta babe been waiting here. You know.
And I took up all three of them.
So give me and Dom's trying to. Dom is the guest, Zach. Dom is the guest here tonight. So, cut Dom some slack. He doesn't want to hear all that.
No worries. That was interesting. Well, thank you guys for having me. I appreciate it. It was fun.
Thank you, Dom. We were really enlightened. You really enlightened us on, you know, what's going on. I hope we enlightened you on what we're dealing with. And hopefully we can, follow you and have you back on again sometime. But we'll be talking soon.
Yeah, sounds good, Gil.
Yeah. Well, thanks everybody for joining the show tonight.
I'm excited about it.
Well, all right. Thank you, guys.
I'm glad I got excited about it. Be appreciative of that, Rick.
Well,
thank you, Zach.
All righty. Well, listen.
All right.
There we go. So why doesn't Dom, if someone wants to get a hold of Dom, I have to ask them, how are they going to get a hold of you, Dom? You got
just go to my Instagram, Dom, or Facebook, Dom the Hypnotist, or YouTube. Anywhere on there. And if you go on Instagram or Facebook, you can just send me a message. I'll be happy to respond.
Well, I tell you, Dom, we get a bunch of them. We're on a number of different networks here, radio and platforms and all over the place here tonight. But they're really, that demon picture you showed, that was something else.
That's pretty crazy, right?
It's very crazy. That was very, very crazy. And
it blew my mind.
So people are wondering about it. This program will be uploaded within probably 10 minutes after this program. So look for it. Rick Farron Watchtower under YouTube, and it'll come up and you'll see it. And you guys can see the picture that Don put up. Thank you very much, Don, for coming on.
Thank you, Rick.
Thank you.
Yep.
Right, bye.
Have a good night. We'll see you in 2 weeks, everybody. Thanks for being here. Have a good night. Bye-bye.
Well, I wish we had more time to get into it, because I'll tell you what, it was really unbelievable. But anyways, we got more programs, friends. It's fascinating to hear Brian. Brian was asking good questions. Zach was getting into it really deep tonight. We had a good program. I really enjoyed it. And we appreciate the efforts of all of you folks. Sorry we couldn't get everybody on. I had to cut. There was so many people that still wanted to come on tonight. But listen, why don't you stay in for Pasta Babe's program? She's coming up next right here on the 6 screens. So she's your favorite apostate. So let's go over now. We're going to shut this program down. Stay on YouTube. We'll be right back with a Pasta Babe. And she's burning the midnight oil tonight.